Hope you're doing very well and you're keeping on track with the material and everything is clear. Now, for today, we will have a quick revision for the conditional sentences so we can get rid of them. Now, let's see and let's start having this thingy. Okay, so again, we're in Unit 7, Grammar Conditional Sentences. All you need, my lovely students, your student books on page 88 and a pen or pencil. So your pencil case, your highlighters, and grab them, be ready, and let's start. So now, first of all, conditional sentences, as we said before, they are zero, conditional, first, second, and third. Now, let's have this quick revision. Why do we use the zero conditional? We use them to show the result of a situation that is always true. And we can use if or when in the if clause. Well, let's have these. Okay, so we had these examples. In the zero conditionals. One example on that: ice melts if you heat it. Okay, so we have in here, let's see the form. We have the if, subject followed with a present simple verb in the if clause, and we have subject followed with a present simple verb in the main clause. Now let's move to the first conditional. For the first conditional, why do we use it? We use it to show that the situation or the action will probably happen now or in the future. Some examples on that: if the rain stops, I might go to the park. Okay, so as we talked about this previously, we can use in the main clause different models. Now, for the form in here, in the F clause, what do we have? We have if followed by the subject, then the present tense verb. And then in the main clause, we have the subject. You can use will or can or could or may or might. You use only one of them in the main clause. Okay, as you can see in here, I can buy, we used can. And here we used she will, we used will in the main clause. And always the modal verbs, as you know, are followed by a base form of the verb. And remember, my lovely students, that if you use if at the beginning of the sentence or initial position, you need to use a comma in here to separate the two clauses. But if you put if, the second part of the sentence, if replaces the comma. So no comma is used in such sentences. Now let's move to the second conditional. Why do we use the second conditional? It's used for three situations, as mentioned. The first one, a situation unlikely to happen now or in the future. Something won't happen. An example on that, let's see this example. If I knew where she lived, I would go there. That means I don't know where she lives. Okay? How do we form? Okay, before we talk about the form, let's see one more example in here. He would pass the exam if he ever studied. The meaning of this sentence: he never studies, so this won't happen. Okay? The second usage of the second conditional, when we're talking about imaginary situation or something which is impossible to happen, imaginary or impossible situation, when in the present. So it is imaginary situation in the present. We have some examples on that. We would buy a larger house if we had more money. So we would buy a larger house if we had more money. Okay, so we have would, buy, and here we have the simple past tense. Now, what about the form? This is the way we form it. We use if clause. In the if clause, we have if followed with the subject and past simple verb. As you can see in here, if, subject, one is the past simple verb. And in the main clause, we have the subject followed by would, then the base form of the verb. Then let's move to the last usage of the second conditional, the third situation, which is giving advice, to give advice. Let's have some examples in that. If I were you, I wouldn't tell anyone about what happened. So what do we have here? We have if followed by subject, then where. Okay, so this is the way we give advice using the second conditional. We use where with I, okay? But in the main clause, we use the subject followed with would, then the verb base form, okay? So this is how we form it. When we give advice using the second conditional, we put if, then followed by the subject, then where, then you or the object in here. Then the main clause, what do we have? We have subject followed with would, then base form of the verb. Now, the third conditional, why do we use it? To talk about events or situations in the past that could have happened but didn't. So the things didn't happen. Examples in that, we have some examples in that. Okay. We'll see this example. If you had worked harder, you would have passed the exam. That means he didn't work hard and he didn't pass the exam. So this situation didn't happen. He didn't study or didn't work hard. How do we form the third conditional? We put if followed with the subject, then had, then verb 3, which is the past perfect, in the F clause. And in the main clause, we have subject followed with would have, then the verb 3. Okay? So far, so good. So this is just a quick revision to refresh the information that you have covered or we have covered in the previous week. Well, now we will move to something which is using unless. When we're talking about, conditional sentences, we usually link them or we have something, we use it, which is unless. Well, when do we use unless? We use unless in the conditional sentences to give the meaning of if not. So when do we use it? To give the meaning of if not. Then let's have an example on that. He will damage his lungs unless he stops smoking. Okay? Now, if we use if not in this sentence, it moves this way. He will damage his lungs if he doesn't stop smoking. Okay, can you think which conditional is this? We have will and we have present tense. It is type, yes, type 1. Excellent, perfect. Now let's move to the second one. Second example, I mean. Unless she was working late, she would be here. What is the meaning of this sentence? It means if she wasn't working late, or if she wasn't working, she would be here. Okay? So this is the meaning of unless in the sentence. We have if not. Now, which conditional is this? It is, can you see in here, was working. This is something in the past. And we have would. So it is type 2. Yes, excellent. Now let's move to the third example. The third example in here, I would have picked up Paul unless his car hadn't broken down. Okay, so what do we have in this example? If Paul's car hadn't broken down, I wouldn't have picked him. So this is the meaning of using unless. So we can use unless in all conditionals instead of using if. That depends on the meaning. If you want to give the meaning of if not. Hope everything is clear related to unless. Now, please notice, my lovely students, that we have some canceled material, and the mixed conditionals is not included, so you don't need to study it. And page 89 is not included as well. And you can add to that other conditionals. So I'm sorry, I forgot to write it down. So mixed conditionals other conditionals, and page 89 is not included. Okay, now let's move to your student books, page 88. Please open your student books on page 88 and let's check your answers in exercises A and B that you had as homework last time. Now, in A, what do we have? We have this question that says, look at the conditional sentences and underline the verb forms and which verb forms are used. Let's see the answers all together. In here, the first one, which is the zero conditional, if you split an atom, you release vast amount of energy. So split is the present simple verb, and here you have release, a present simple verb. So we use a present simple in both parts because it's zero conditional. Okay, second one, which is the first conditional. If you study biology, you will learn about plant and animal life. So if you study, the verb study is a present simple verb. And the second part in the main clause, what do we have? Will learn, which is the future simple. Second conditional, if science could answer all of our questions, the world would be a very different place. So could answer, we're talking about the past from can, which is could. So here we have past simple. And in the second part, which is the main clause, we have would be, would followed by base form of the verb because it's the second conditional. And in the third conditional, if Albert Einstein hadn't become a scientist, he would have been a teacher instead. So the verb in here, hadn't become, had plus the PP form of the verb, which is verb 3. This is the past perfect. And in the second part, which is the main clause part, would have followed by the past participle or the verb 3. Okay, so that's all for the conditionals that we covered in the last two classes. The mixed conditional is not included, so you need to cross it out. Let's move to exercise B now. Exercise B. So we will need to go to B. B is related to exercise A, so you get a match or just to write down the usage of each situation given to you. So 1, a situation that is unreal or imaginary in the present. It refers to the second conditional. There is a technical problem in here. I can't write and it is hidden. So you write down, please, and make sure that is the second conditional. It is the second conditional. 2, a general truth. When we're talking about general truths, what do we use? We use the zero conditional as example A in here, the first example in A. 3, a past situation with a present result. This is mixed conditional, so you need to cross it out. 4, a real or likely situation. This is the first conditional. And 5, a situation that is unreal or imaginary in the past. So this is the third conditional. Okay, hope you got all of your answers correct. Please, if you have any mistakes, try to revise the structure, read it again, and try to do it and understand. If you have any question, please don't hesitate to send me anything. Okay, so let's go back now again to the grammar part on page 88. And I remind you again, other conditionals is not included. So we won't cover this part. Let's move to D. Now in D, here we have 5 sentences or 5 situations. Let's fit the conditional sentences in them, okay? And as you can see here, you have the verbs in brackets and you need to put them in the correct form using the correct conditional depending on the meaning. Okay, so the first one says, mosquitoes are responsible for spreading the disease malaria. But for the mosquito, this disease, we're talking about the mosquito itself. This disease is what? Is it common for a mosquito? No, so wouldn't be common. Number 2, bronze is composed of copper and tin. Copper turns green when it corrodes. So we are talking about a fact in here. That's why we use the zero conditional. Now, number 3, so please cross it out. It's mixed conditional. Now let's move to 4. There are 62,000 miles of blood vessels in the human body. If you put them together end to end, they would circle Earth 2.5 times. So which conditional is this? We have put and with circle. Can you put the blood vessels around the Earth together? So we are imagining something. This is, yes, second conditional. Excellent. Now 5. On certain nights of the year, if you look into starry sky, you can see or you will see planets Venus and Mars. This is something related to real situations. Okay, that can happen. This is type 1. So that's all, my lovely students. I just want to tell you I've really missed you all. Please take a good care of yourselves, stay home, and stay safe. That's all, and have a nice day.